Welcome back, fellow warriors, to the stage of history. My name is Cosmo Jazz, and this is my reaction channel. We are back with three Home Alone horror stories, but we're back with MJV Animations, who we have done earlier throughout the month. So I figured that they are a pretty good channel, and they seem to do good animations and stories, especially that last one with the mom. That was just like, what the fuck? But yeah, I think we can go back to these guys here, or guy, the girl, whoever they are. Either way, they do good stuff, and I figured out we can check them out some more. If you haven't seen the video, though, please hit the video down in the description box below. See the video first, and then come back to see the reaction. Also, if you like what you saw, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share, because I am trying to hit 100 followers. One day I'm gonna get this. I am trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and if I can at least hit maybe 50, if not 30 by the end of the month, by the time my birthday hits, I will be very, very happy. So thank you all in advance, and I hope you guys enjoy. Without further ado, let's get into this, shall we?
My name is Kevin, and this whole mess started a few months before quarantine.
I was not expecting that voice.
I was in 8th grade, and my sister Jessica was in 7th grade. This particular day, as we got off the bus to go home, we noticed this white, busted van just sitting near the edge of the road. This was odd, as we hadn't ever seen the vehicle before.
The heck is in there? I thought that was hands. I'm not gonna lie.
Or so I thought. We barely noticed him at first, but not long after seeing the van, I felt like something was wrong. It was as if someone was watching us. I noticed Jessica's gaze shift to the vehicle, and I followed. The man was staring at Jessica.
The fuck?
He had this
crazy
crazy look in his eyes, then proceeded to lick his lips in a really odd manner. The stranger got out of his van and started limping towards us. He reminded me of a zombie the way he dragged his leg.
No? Why are you letting him get that close to you?
Moan that emerged from his throat. That freaked us out, so we decided to sprint home.
Yeah,
as
you
soon
should
as we
have
got
been
inside,
dashed.
we locked the door. We looked at each other and thought the same thing. What in the world was he doing? I decided to get my mind off of him, thinking he was just some crazy old man. Since he'd reminded me of a zombie, I pulled out my phone to play The Walking Dead Survivors.
Nice ad
It's a game
placement.
based on the Walking Dead TV show, where you can experience the original story in a post-apocalyptic world with more than 80 iconic characters that include Rick, Glenn, Michonne, Negan, and many more. It features a tower defense
do
system
not look like their
gameplay
character
where you have
models.
to
I'm
strategize
sorry.
with limited resources and defend your base with traps, routes, and structures while fighting hordes of walkers. Explore the unknown, fight with walkers, encounter classic characters from the comics, build a camp, form a strategy, and even establish
Yeah, it was a little
clan.
rough as far as character models
Are you
go, but
playing
hey.
that game again? Jessica asked. Can I play with you? Of course. Soon enough, we were both online in a clan, recruiting new survivors, gathering supplies.
I have to say, this is one of the more elaborate ads I've seen in a while.
Game, they're called
So,
walkers. My camp was under constant siege from the
I'll admit, I'm
creatures.
impressed.
Once Jessica joined my clan, though, we started taking over more territories and building up strongholds as we went. Since each of the survivors we could recruit had unique skills and abilities, my sister and I were able to distract ourselves by figuring out which task was best for each character based on their attributes. Some we'd send for supplies, others we'd set exploring, or farming, or training, while the rest could be used to fight off walkers. If they got hurt, we could even take care of their
Sponsor me,
medical
Pepsi.
needs. Always remember, your survival depends on your strategy. If you want to see if you can survive The Walking Dead Survivors, play now for free by clicking the link in the video description and use the code TWD Survivors to get free in-game rewards worth $20. I eventually forgot about the strange dirty man.
I don't know if I'll include that because it was an ad for something else, but that was one of the most elaborate ads I've seen in a while.
He was staring at us, and he did
A
the
plus
same
on
thing,
that.
licking his lips in the oddest manner.
Why are you going back
We ran
this way?
home, and I closed the door and checked all the locks again. Jessica and I both agreed to not tell our parents because we didn't want them to worry sick, knowing the kind of paranoid people they are. This kept going on for about a week, him being there and us getting scared and running home whenever we passed his van. But then it
There's
just
gotta be a
stopped.
way around,
He
right?
wasn't there anymore. We both felt relieved. As we got home, Jessica and I immediately logged into the Walking Dead survivors again. After an hour, we both heard a knock on our door. This was unusual, as we didn't get visitors that often. Startled, I went to check who it was. I peeked out the window next to the door. It was this tall guy, about 6'3", wearing a
Okay,
black
it's
hoodie
clearly that guy.
to also cover his face. In his hands was a pizza box. A pizza box? Who wouldn't want free pizza? I thought to myself. I looked over to Jessica,
You
who
even
also
ordered-
noticed him. She shook her head no. Don't you want free pizza? I asked.
Fuck no.
We don't even know who that is. Or what's in
Exactly.
the box. Please don't open the door, said Jessica. She made
Your
a good
sister's
point.
a smart one,
The
apparently.
delivery guy knocked again, much harder this time. Can you open up? He asked. We didn't order any pizza, I responded. He didn't say anything for a moment. It's from your parents, the man said. They wanted to surprise you, so can you open the door?
Fuck no.
I looked at Jessica. She was pale, her eyes narrow. He's lying, she whispered. Mom and Dad would have told us if they were sending pizza. They wouldn't want us to open the door for a stranger. The delivery guy knocked again, so hard this time that the door shook. Stop playing around, he growled. Open, now. I didn't say anything this time, but I did lock the deadbolt. The man must have heard because he began pounding on the door. After a few moments, he stepped back. I glanced out of the peephole, just in time to see him take off his hood, revealing his face. Oh no, I muttered. It was the same guy that was stalking us
course.
after school for the past week.
Look at these
He noticed me staring,
wearing.
licked his lips in that horrifying manner. I looked at Jessica. She had the same terrified expression as me. Call the police and hide in the upstairs bathroom, I screamed. She ran upstairs as I went to check if the back door was locked. After I confirmed that the entire house was secure, I went upstairs and hid in the bathroom with Jessica. I found her shaking and crying in the bathtub. I told her everything was okay, even though I knew we were in danger.
Y'all didn't
Just as I
grab a
was
weapon
finally
or
calming
something?
her down, we heard glass shatter. He was inside the house. We stayed there, not daring to move a muscle. I could hear his heavy, dragging footsteps around the house. Kevin, Jessica.
How do you fuck you know their names?
Please don't make this hard for me. His groaning voice echoed around the house, filling every corner. The stranger was starting to make his way up the stairs. Jessica began hyperventilating. I got in the tub and covered her mouth so her breathing wouldn't give our location away. The old
Some
man
pretty
was
interesting
yelling,
animation.
laughing like a maniac just on the other side of the door. Jessica's eyes were white with panic. Don't worry, we're okay, I whispered to her. Just pretend that we're survivors, like in the game. The zombies can't find the survivors if they're quiet.
I
Jessica
feel like I
still
should
looked terrified,
keep the
but she
ad
nodded and stopped shaking quite
because
so bad.
it was going to be like, what are y'all talking
You guys are
about?
trapped. You're all mine, the old man moaned. My clothes were drenched in sweat. The stranger approached the bathroom. He was standing in the hall, laughing. Then, suddenly, he became silent. It was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop in the distance.
What the fuck?
The old man was scraping the other side of the door with something metal. After a few seconds of scratching, he hit the wood hard enough to cause the frame to shake. I peeked over the edge of the tub. The point of a knife was pressing through the door. We
What
were
is
doomed.
wrong with this dude?
This was going to be the end.
This is why you should have took a weapon.
Processing our last moments. The man slammed into the door again and again, causing the wood to crack. Jessica screamed. A final blow buckled the door and snapped the lock. The old man stood in the doorway and licked his cracked lips. He was even grimier than when we'd seen him in the van. His eyes were bloodshot and had a
What
yellow
the
tint with
fuck?
dark bags hanging under them. The man's skin was scabby and peeling, pale and covered in dirt. His hair was a rat's nest of greasy gray tangles.
Yeah,
With a
he
few
looks
teeth had
way
left
worse
were
now
black,
that he did first
black
time.
at the gums. He showed them in a crooked smile as he watched us. The man took one step towards us, then froze. A wailing sound filled the room, coming from just outside. Sirens. The police. I never felt more relieved in my life. But just when we thought the man would run away, he continued to step
Let's say,
forward,
what's there to stop
dragging
them?
his feet.
They're down there. You gotta get around.
Mumbling inaudibly, with the knife held forward as if he was hungry for blood. My sister screamed at the top of her lungs, and at that moment, a large gunshot went off, almost making my eardrums explode. Platters of meat painted the wall,
Damn.
and the man fell to the floor. Behind him was a police officer. I looked over
They
to
got up there
Jessica.
fast as
Her eyes
fuck.
were rolling back. She collapsed. Jessica! I shook her. Jessica! Jessica! No response. The paramedics came quickly and took Jessica to the hospital.
Good thing they ran up there.
The trip
Must be
to
a
the
white
hospital
neighborhood.
felt like hours. Horrible thoughts
Don't
raced through my
roast me.
head. Just as we reached the hospital, I saw my parents in the parking lot. I ran to them, hugged them, and broke down weeping. We crowded into the waiting room. After about an hour, the doctors came out revealing that Jessica had just collapsed in shock and that she was perfectly fine. We went into her room and, sure enough, Jessica was all right. I was so thankful that she was alive. About
Y'all
a
are
week
lucky
later,
as fuck.
The police arrived. They asked our parents to speak in private in the hallway, but the door was open enough that Jessica and I overheard everything they said. They took the pizza box to the crime lab and found out that the food was spiked with cyanide, a deadly poison.
Of course.
Thank God we didn't eat it. The police went on to say that this was the third case of attempted poisonings in town in the last month. All of the events appeared to be linked because the poison used was always cyanide, and the targets were always children. We don't know what the hell was wrong with that guy.
Yeah, like
Maybe he
why?
was mental. But after that day, Jessica and I never stayed home alone again. Instead, we stayed with our cousins after school.
Most people don't
Smart.
even believe me when I tell them, but I have a job where I work from home.
This is a voice I recognize.
People in my area mostly work with cars or in the medical
I
industry.
wonder if this is a
There
collaboration
aren't
of
many
sorts.
jobs where I live. Thankfully, I was able to land a decent paying job that let me work from my home office. It definitely comes with its struggles, but it is hands down the best job opportunity available to me right now. It isn't always perfect. It definitely comes with its pitfalls. Sometimes you have to sit at your computer even when there isn't any work to be done. It's also very easy to get distracted. But I think my biggest problem has to do with the house itself. It's kind of creepy. The house
Big.
itself is an old Victorian, like really old. We're talking mid-1800s. A family friend owned the house and sold it to me for a very fair price. Basically gave it to me. I was super excited because it meant I got a nice big house to live in by myself along with my
I
girlfriend.
couldn't do that. Like,
Natural
oh wait, it was
woman.
girlfriend.
I don't
Okay.
really care for
Listen, I couldn't do
social
that on my own.
So I
I
had
don't
a
care
nice
how
big house all to myself
pricey
and
the
girlfriend
house
and
is.
job where I work from home with
There's
very
too many
minimal social
areas.
interaction with other people. That was basically my ideal life. But the house's age meant that it was going to be scary at times. And I
Yeah,
don't mean with
creaks,
ghosts or anything like that. but
Settling.
sometimes I hear the house settling in or making noises
Excuse
that I
me?
can't explain. I've actually had quite a few instances where I'll be sitting down and doing some work and then out of nowhere, I hear a noise that I just can't rationalize. I go exploring throughout the house only to find that nothing has changed. It's as ominous as it is frustrating. I did just about what anyone else in the world would do. I started to use background noise to drown out the disturbances. First, I tried those quiet instrumentals on YouTube. You know, the ones that last 5 hours and they're supposed to put you at ease or something. It didn't really work for me because I couldn't get my computer to be loud enough to drown out all the noises. It was
To be
also not
honest,
very good at
from where
keeping
he
my attention.
is, I would make
There
it
was
so
one
that it's
week where my
facing
work was really slow
towards
and there
the
wasn't a whole lot to do.
noise.
I
if
still had to sit at my
anything.
computer though. There
'Cause
was an understanding that
you're hearing
I
it
was allowed
behind
to
you.
basically do anything I wanted as long as I was
It may
available
look
to my
weird,
coworkers
but
if something came through that needed to be done.
if you can't explain what
I
it
didn't
is,
quite know what to do with this time. and
kinda
just started
telling.
Watching documentaries on YouTube. It was actually pretty fun. I learned a lot. And so that next week, when things started picking up again, I just instinctively turned on a documentary. I wouldn't be able to have all of my focus on it, but it was a lot better than having some ambient noise. It actually helped distract me from the sounds of the house. I guess I just didn't have enough mental focused energy to notice any of the other sounds going on around me, if that makes any sense. Well, it had been about 2 weeks of me watching documentaries while I worked. Everything seemed to be good. Until
kind of
one
wondered if
Friday
there's any
morning,
thumbnails I
started
would
work
recognize.
At 8, and this must have been around 10. I was sitting at my office chair working while I listened to a documentary about certain conspiracy theories, when all of a sudden, I heard an abrupt banging noise coming from upstairs. Like I had said, I hadn't been distracted by any noises for a while by this point, so the fact that I noticed this noise meant that it was probably serious. My fight or flight kicked in. You might laugh at me, but when I work, I keep a knife next to me.
Fuck
I
yeah.
ran upstairs with the knife and looked around for any suspicious noises.
Like, why would
The
anybody
banging
laugh at
stopped,
that? You're
and I
hearing
didn't know
weird
where it had
noises
come
you
from.
can't
I knew
explain.
what section of the house that I heard it from, but there didn't seem to be anything out of place. I stood there for a
You're
few
better
minutes
off with a
and then
strap.
I heard it again. It happened right on the other side of my door. I immediately braced myself for there to be some kind of animal or something trying to get in. I didn't really know what to expect. I opened my door to see that the screen door had not been properly closed. My girlfriend didn't close it all the way when she left for work that morning. It was also pretty windy that day, so it was just going back and forth, causing a banging noise when the wind got bad. This was kind of a breaking point for me. I didn't want to live my life in constant paranoia and fear of some kind of attacker coming into my home. We live in a safe area. There's never been a serious threat. And I have run around my house with a knife way too many times now. I honestly felt kind of stupid. So I made a decision. I was no longer going to assume that someone was breaking in if and when I heard a sound. I put the knife in my dresser in my bedroom and decided that I was going to just be in to work while I was working, except for my documentary, of course. So there I was the next week. It happened on a Wednesday. I was sitting in my office doing exactly what I had set out to do. I was working, ignoring the noises and listening to a documentary.
That are walking around.
I remember the exact part of the documentary I was on when I heard it. The sound was the loudest sound I had heard in the house up to that point. At first, I reassured myself that it was nothing and that I need to fight against this paranoia.
No.
The sound continued, and I couldn't take my mind off of it. After about 5 minutes of listening to what sounded like rummaging and walking, I went upstairs to check. Bear in mind, I didn't have any weapon on me, and I was expecting some kind of reasonable explanation. When I got to my kitchen, I saw that the front door was wide open. The cabinets were all open.
Call the
There
pops.
was a strange man rummaging through my stuff. I didn't notice until after the fact, but he had been eating something. I remember screaming at him. I don't remember what I said, but it was something to the effect of, "What are you doing in my house?" obviously.
Without no weapon.
And then he just ran off. Didn't say a single word. He took a loaf of bread with him, but I don't think he took anything else, other than what I had eaten before I came upstairs. I reasoned with myself that he must have been some sort of homeless man or something. I don't know why else he would steal a loaf of bread from a very ordinary-looking house. And this was the worst thing that could have happened. On some instinctual level, it had proved all of my worst fears right. There was some kind of danger in my house, and of course, it was the one time when I didn't have my knife on me. I lucked out that he didn't try to hurt me or anything, but it's still horrifying to see nonetheless. I just work at a local coffee shop now. It's honestly my only way to stay sane.
Yeah, he did a lot
When
of.
I was 14, I would spend
not a
summer
good stuff.
holidays away from school at home. In the small village I lived in,
I recognize this voice
meant
too.
I mainly spent my days on my own, just watching TV and playing The Sims. My parents were generally out of the house from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. I was raised to never answer the door to strangers. However, my favorite spot in the living room was right next to the window, so I could always see people on the street, and in turn, they could see me. One day, I was sat watching daytime TV when I noticed a man walking down our street. As our street has a dead end, I normally recognize everyone who walks down it, but I'd certainly never seen this guy before. He was tall, thin, and unshaven. He was wearing a hooded jumper with the hood up and his sleeves rolled up as well, revealing tattoos on his arms.
Looked like he about to go face
He was
Eminem.
carrying a large duffel bag and was looking closely at each house he passed. As I was sat there watching him, I was clearly in full view. He started to pass our house, and when he saw me, he smiled and started walking up our short drive.
Okay.
He came up to our front door and knocked. I knew I shouldn't answer, but he had seen me. And at 14, I was afraid of being rude to an adult.
Fuck that. You don't know who that is.
Opened the door a crack. I peeked around the door and said hello. As he spoke, he pulled the duffel bag around to the front of his body and asked me if my parents were home. At this point, I figured he'd probably leave if I said no, but instead, he stepped forward towards the door and unzipped the bag. Well, the thing is, I just got out of prison. I want to do the right thing, you know? It's so hard to find a job, so I'm trying to sell some things. He started pulling towels, handkerchiefs, and other junk out of his bag. The word prison made my heart skip a beat, and I quickly mumbled something about having no money, and I closed the door on him. He stood outside my door for a minute, still talking to me about being able to help. So I went upstairs and waited for him to leave, which he eventually did. I soon settled back down to watching the TV and forgot all about the encounter. At 5 p.m, my parents came home and they took the TV, so I went up to my room. A little while later, there was a knock at the door. I came onto the landing and peered down as my mum answered. 2 police officers were stood there on the step. They asked if anyone had come by that day. My mum said no one had, and that's when I remembered my visitor from earlier.
Tell
I
them.
came down the stairs and said that actually someone had called by.
Thank you.
Seeing as I was young, the 2 police officers asked to come inside and talk to me. They asked me to describe the man and the conversation I had with him. They seemed really worried and kept telling me not to worry and to be honest about what happened. Once I'd told them everything, they asked to speak to my parents on their own, and then they thanked me and left. I was straight on at my parents, asking them what was going on. My mum explained that a few minutes after the guy had come to our house, he had gone to another girl's house. She was in the shower and hadn't answered the door when he knocked. Apparently, he let himself into the house and walked upstairs.
Oh no.
When he found her in the shower, he sexually assaulted her. With my description and the evidence from the girl, they tracked the guy down. It turned out he had just been released from prison for a similar attack on another girl. I never answer the door when I'm alone now, and I refuse to shower when I'm home alone.
So I'm guessing the door was open because it makes you wonder, why didn't he do it to her? You know? Like, why did he do it to the next person? Or anything. Unless he was truly trying to say, I'm really going to be a good person or something like that. Like, I feel like that was a ruse and a half, let's be honest here. For all we know, all those napkins and whatnot could have been the whatever it's called that knocks you out when you breathe in and stuff. Like, I don't believe that for a minute. But maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Either way, he clearly did something bad, regardless of the situation. So that's fucked, dude. Yeah, I remember that name, that voice, because I used to hear tell his stories all the time when I was at the old job I was at. I wish I could remember his name though. It's probably gonna come to me later down the line, but these were really good. Again, pop it up, bing, and let me know what you guys would do in those situations. Like, the last guy and that girl clearly had very weak survival instincts. I'm just gonna say that now. But the other guy, like, when he just yelled at him, it's just like, why would you do that? You don't know what he has on him, and as he's rummaging in there, he could have a gun, he could have a knife, he could have any kind of weapon, and then be like, I do what I want in your house, you know, kind of thing. Like, at least try to get an upper advantage on him in some sort of way. But luckily, the guy just ran out. But yeah, let me know what you guys would do in that situation. And as always, ask yourself this one question: does your soul still burn? Please hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Catch you guys next time.
money in the city that I'm from.